We start a new React Native project. This project will actually have the widgets. The first thing what you need to do, very important here, is that you need to go with cd iOS and pod install. Otherwise it will not install all the pod for your iOS. So we will keep this installing. We try to build our app tsx file. I have already put the code somewhere here, so I will just copy it and paste it. So in the meantime, our pod install is finished, so now we can run already the app to see how it looks like. So for example, I can go with start first to start the Metro bundler, and then we create another window where we try to run yarn iOS, and that will run the application in my simulator. So we keep this running. So what I have done here is that first of all I get the API key, and then we have this API to use the exchange rate to for the conversion of the data. We have couple states that controls state of the inputs we have, and in the end, as you can see in the use effect, we try to check if there is a result is 0, then we try to get the data, and this actually will hit multiple times. So I will comment it out because the limit of the API for the free tier is very less, so I don't want to hit multiple times in the beginning. Now we do getting the data. We set the loading to true because we have a loading indicator, and then we just parameterize all the params for the URL, and then in the end we set the result, whatever comes. So normally this is how it looks, the result of the API endpoint, and we are only interested in the result param. Now here is mostly React Native, let's say, so there is nothing really magic here. It's more about a couple inputs, styling, and also elements. So now we have our app is running. Now we can do the conversion. We check whatever the value needs to be to convert it to, and the amount, and then we have the result. Now what we need to do is send all these fields with these amounts whenever we get the results to the React Native bridge. So here, and now we can open xcode. So we go to iOS here, and then we can see that there are two Monix X workspace. So we need to open this in xcode, project in xcode, and then we keep also the Metro bundler is running in our code. And here what we try to do is actually to open the project. First you need to check and explore the project. Here in xcode I make the code a bit bigger so you can see properly here. And what we need to see is actually, if you select this, we have the target, and then we go to sign in and capabilities, and we try to add app groups, and this will add a new entry called app groups. We hit to plus sign, and if you have an account you can add your account, but I don't have, but we can still do that. So we click on cancel, and then it will ask you to add a new container, and that will always starts with a group, and we can call it group Monix. And this will be our identifier container, and it will be the connection between our app and also the widgets. So here we will go to file, new, and also go to target, and we will search for widget. This is widget extension, and we'll hit next. You can call it anything you want. Supposedly that it could be this project has multiple widgets, so this will be only the converter Monix one. And then make sure that include configuration intent with it is also checked. Finish, and it will ask you to activate this. Yes, I want to activate it, and now we can see it already here. So we will do the same. We will go to add capabilities, app groups, and then we ask to a group, and then we will enter Monix. So this will be, both are connected, and you can see that in the entitlement here, you can see that they are both here the same name. Now if we want to explore actually the widget itself, we can go to the converter Monix. That's the new directory now, and here is the bundler where we start of all the widgets. Let's say, for example, if you have also dynamic aligned widget, then it will be also part of here. And then here you will have the preview of your widget. So normally it will show the date. So we'll start from the bottom. Here we have the converter preview, where actually we have simple entry class that's in the top, and we will send the date to it, where it will ask us, or it will show us actually the widgets, how it's look like. So let me maybe start to run the project. Now we have also the converter Monix widgets, which is the main class, where it will show the description and then the widget when you try to add the widget itself. So it will show you this as part of here. So as you can see, we already have this widget now as part of it. So I will just remove it, and then I will just add it here. So this is actually my widgets. It's called my widgets. So this is exactly the title here. And then we have this is an example of widgets. This is what you need to put as a description. And then we have all these sizes, which is actually start by system small. So this is actually the small one. It will start the preview. You can change all of these, but keep always the name to be matched with the class. Here I would just say it the same, maybe because it makes sense, and then I will say like converter widget, so maybe something like this. Then what we have to see is that the interview, this is actually exactly this. Here what we are sending is only a text with the date and the format of time. So this is actually what is happening here, is inside the converter Monix entry view. Now this is our class where we trying to always get the simple entry. Now this is the timeline, the timeline and the snapshot. This is the provider, where here we have the placeholder where we send nothing to it as let's say the date here, and then for both actually we just only send the completion as an entry, and here the timeline, which means that it will run for a couple times to it will try to get the data under the hood for a couple times, also used by Apple itself to for the weather widgets. It's for example, what we will try is that to send the data from our React Native and then bring it here, convert it, and then show it inside here. The first thing is that we need to create a bridge to send the data. So we come to the Monix here, and then we say like, okay, bring me a new file, and I will call the Objective-C file. This is a bridging file, and that file we called it React Native. You can call it anything. I will call it React Native shared widget. So we ask, this will be part of Monix, yes, create. Now we need to create the header file, and the header file will be also the same, and that will be also part of Monix, not part of the widget itself. And here we say create. Well, there is a couple things we need to do here. For example, we need to bring the React Bridge model here, and then we need to tell that this is a part of React model. So here we say interface class, and we say React Native shared widget, and the superclass is type of NS object, and then we will put also as a type of React Bridge model here, just to make sure that this type will be React, so we can send the events or send data between the bridge. What we need to do is bring bring shared native model, because this will hold also React Native with it. And what we can do, we say implementation class, our implementation called React Native shared widget class, and this is mostly the basic of creating bridging between React Native and iOS. We need to hold some values, so I will just say NS user defaults, and then we called it I will call it shared defaults, something like this. And this actually the part where the shared defaults, it will be the part where we share the data between via the container between the app itself and the widget. So here I will have also NS string, and that will be app group, and for now we will instantiate it. So the app group is actually taking the group name and then the group container name. So this is very important here. What we need to do is adding some, let's say, function that will be dispatch duty, and we just say method u return, and that will be it. The only thing is that we added some shared defaults in app group, and now what we need to do is just identify that this is a model. We can put a React Native model name different than this, but I would keep it like the same, so I will keep it like this. It means that we can use it in the JavaScript as React Native shared widget. Now also we have another one, we call it set the export mode method, and here we will call the set data, and the set data will be accepting string as a key, and that's actually tell which of the widgets itself has this key. So for example, let's say that we have couple widgets, as I said, for this app, and we need to identify which widgets we need to set the data. So we put an identifier or a key to tell. Now we will also set string, and that will be actually for the value. You can call it value, you can call it data, it's actually the same. And then what we need to send is also React. That will be our callback. So in case if you have something wrong, then we call our callback. So that's the only thing that we need to export for the JavaScript. First of all is that we need to identify shared defaults, so or instantiate shared default. And here we just say as user defaults, and that will be allocate and init with the suit name. The suit name here is actually the group name, so the container name. So here in the code it's called the suit name, so we add a group, and then we can go with some checks. For example, if we can say if the shared default is empty, then we want to hit a callback, and also I want to stop the process. Otherwise we'll call shared default, and then we have set value, and that value will be data, and for the key is our key. More simple, more easy. And we can send a callback to tell that there is actually no error throwing. So we can say like, okay, no, and this will be our. So with that, our bridge is ready. We can use it, but we have couple things that we need to do inside our app before actually using it. So I won't go to the JavaScript right now. I will just first make sure that this one is okay. Now we need to go to our widgets, so we need to get the data already, and then we know that the data will come as a string, which means that it will be stringified via the bridge, and we need to put this here to tell the widgets that there is kind of like data is coming. The first thing I will change the simple entry. Here we can define set data, and that data will be values data. So that will be type of codable, and we are going to send from a string. So that's our object. Let's say in JavaScript we call it an object, but here it will be a struct, and that type of data is type of values data. So that will be it. Since this is a simple entry as type of timeline entry, this data needs to be passed already, so you can see that it's already throwing an error here and here whenever the simple entry is used. So the first thing is that what we need to do is making a mock entry. For example, we can say like, okay, let values data, where we say give me all elements. So what we are going to add is that you can see that this is a simple entry, and then we add the data to it. So now we have a parameter called data, and that's type of values. The same thing I will do here. whenever we have an error. So I will do it also here and then add it as values data, the same as here, values data. Now we are good for these. Now the only thing is that here this timeline is actually where we try to get the actual data. So there are a couple things when we trying to get the data. First, we need to define the user defaults. So we say user defaults, and that's actually user defaults. Get me the whole user defaults, and we say init. And with the suit name, do you remember the suit name? That's very important because it's used multiple times. And then what we going to do is we getting the JSON text. So we know already that our text is, our values is stringified. So we try to get this. We say user defaults, and what we try to say is bring us the value for key. And what is the key that we want to send from our JavaScript? It will be the key here. So this is actually the key that we need to send for this widget. So this is a unique key for this widget. And now what we could do is, since this will come as a string, we can also identify it as a string in case of it will not throw in any errors. And now what we need to go is say JSON data. So here it's just part of formatting to tell, and this will throw an error because it's this required field for the data. It cannot accept optional. So what we can do is actually just pass anything to it. So we'll just pass something like this. Now to all of this is actually just move this element as data. We still didn't use the values data here yet. For the element, what we need to do is say like, okay, give me now values data. That's values data. We try to hit try with a JSON decoder, and we just say decode, and then we bring the class values data self, and then we send the JSON data to it. In such a case, now we have actual values data for it, and then we just only send data as values data now. So that's will be it, and all of it will be okay. Now let's try to hit this again. So build succeeded. Let me remove this with the elements. You see it's converter monics. We still have the time. Why? Because in our view we only sent the time to it. Now what we need to do is actually sending a new element or a new view of it. That's something actually I don't do it that much, so I will just try copy paste what I have done, styled couple elements. So I will just copy it here. We have the var body, and I will just remove it. We'll post it here. So the first thing is that this is only color. We get the color because we need to use it multiple times, so that's why I put this one here. And then you have the environment to get the widget family, and then we identify it as a family. And this actually gives us the idea of if we can check the size of it. So this is system medium. It means that this one, whenever it gets system medium, it will add couple elements to it with the today and last update and all of this. And then otherwise it will just set the normal size and add the data to it. So what I need to do is actually getting the from, well, this will set the from, which is the euros, and then it will send the amount of it. It will set the to, and then it will set the result of it, and that will be it. Now you can see our widgets. The widget itself is actually, let me try to remove that one, and then add this here in the screen. Now you have this kind of like design where we put the elements and we put the placeholders for 1.2.7. So we could put this one. You can see that it's trying to get the data, and if we set this here, open the app, it will, this is where we need to do from the JavaScript. We set the data, whatever here, to the element. Now it tries to set the data, but there is no actual data. Now the only thing is that our widget right now, it will not refresh every time. It has something to do with the timeline that will get mostly an hour, every hour to get the data again. So that's something we don't want. We want to, whenever the app is set and then via the bridge the data is set, then we need to show this in our widgets. In such a case, we need to create some files that you need to set the data again. And this files, we will call it, the idea of that, and whenever it asks you to create a bridging, we will ask for a bridging header. So the thing is that widget extension is only available for Swift, and in order to use widget extension in our Objective-C, we need to have the conversion file, and that's conversion file that will only bring the widget itself, and then you can expose any method of that widget. So in order to do that, we have like the foundation. We don't need it. We just say bring me the widget kit, because as I said, Swift file can access to the widget kit. And then we need to say Objective-C members, and that's actually we will make a new class where we say widget key. That's type of an NS object in case of, and this will actually trigger method to be exposed. This method will be exposed to be used in the Objective-C, and that's actually we'll go to the widget center and we say shared and reload all times. So if we don't have this bridging file, you can create bridging files with the Swift, but I want to do it in the Objective-C. So if you have a bridging file with the Swift, you can directly call this inside your Swift file, and you can see here it starts already complaining that you need to make sure that if this one is available or not, and all of this. So you could put something like this, but for me I will actually go with the whole class. So here I will say whenever this will be available, I need you to call. So that will be it. Now we can go to our React Native bridging file. We call bridging header. That's the thing, that this bridging header is created when we create the Swift file, but is not what we need to do here. We need to call it with the Swift. So we keep the project file is the same. We just put Swift and header file. And such a case, then now we can use, we can access to that class file. So we can say widget kit helper and reload all timelines. That will be it to reload all timelines. Now this will still complaining about widget kit helper is only available on this, or I can put also the fix by putting a condition around it, so there is no problem to put this like this. Okay, now I think from Xcode side we are good to go. The first thing is that I will get rid of this right now. We need to import native models, and then as I said, we will create a native model where we just say native models, and this will be React Native shared widget. So this is actually our native model that we created right now, and we just copy that and we say React Native shared widget, and here we set the data. This is the function that we created. It has it has 3 parameters. One is called the widget key, and as I said, we can go to Swift here, and this is actually the key that we need to send here, and then we just send the stringify object, and also we need to have callback. So you can say like this. So this is actually our if we want to call it. So here we are expecting status that will be either number or null, and we can also print this just in case to see if there is a problem with the status. Or so that will be it. The only thing that we need to do right now is just to make sure how to send this. So here we just say from to amount, and just make sure that we need to put the number as amount, otherwise here is the amount is string, so we need to parse it, and then we need to also to put the result, and that will be actually the response result. Otherwise we need to make sure that we send something, at least number. So that will be it. Rebuild again. Monix, we put this one here, and let's open this app. The app works fine. Submit. We get 106.70, and then voila, we get 106.70. So this is not the same as our mock data, because mock data is 102. And yeah, that's it. Then we are good to create. Let's get the other one, add widgets, and you can see also in our widgets that how it will be formatted in case of the bigger. I think that's it. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe and share and hit the like button, and see you next time.